Madam Dai Yibo is the only one to do the on-site presentation, online presentation. Remind you the time is 50 minutes for each. And then we'll move on to the next item of the agenda. That's the roundtable discussion. And the two of the panelists, Kristen and the one representing Yihai, Carrie, I believe it's Max or Mr. Wang. Those two are speakers, and then joined by Manager Li Ping of the Yihai, Carrie, and Director Wang Liansheng. Altogether, 4 panelists will discuss on topics of ESG and how it matters to management of supply chain. I may ask some specific questions to each panelist. And we have had some exchange prior to the meeting on possible topics to discuss. And look forward to listen to you. As you can see on the screen or in the chat box, any questions from any member of audience or anyone, you have any question of your interest, welcome to ask them. And then we'll move on to the conclusion before we wrap up. And basically, that's everything we have to include in the agenda. And this is broadcast by live streaming. If you go to look at the data in previous years, you will see there's a large amount of data that we have been building. We're going to start at 3 p.m. I expect to conclude at 5, probably a little bit earlier that we can do. Before 5 p.m., expect to conclude this forum. So thank you. Please bear with me for just a few more minutes. Of course, if you have any questions, we can use the time before it starts to exchange on the questions that of your interest. Thank you.
I have a question to Linda, to Yolanda, to Joyce. Why
No, I thought it was.
Because we have not yet started. Yes.
Oh, but I listened to. Yeah. Scroll down and then you say a list of function, and one of those shows a globe.
I think we can start. Is everything ready? Yes, we are. Distinguished guests, Madam Linda, Professor Qian Xiaojun, guests and colleagues in CSR, dear friends, good afternoon. Welcome you all to join online and the co-organized forum by M4 and China Sustainability Tribune, supported by China National Textile, Apparel Council, China Electronics Standardization Association, CSR Committee, and also Hong Kong Productivity Council. This is the 27th Sino-European CSR Roundtable Forum. And we started this session since 2008. It's almost 15 years that we have shared journey with each other. And this is the 27th session. And it's a very important platform to have the Sino-European exchanges on the topic of CSR. And it has been developing important thoughts from China and Europe on CSR development. And to increase, it intends to increase mutual understanding between downstream and upstream on CSR topics. In the recent years, ESG has become mainstream in the world, not only favored by investors in capital market, but also attracts more and more attention from governments, institutions, and enterprises. Its influence is impossible to ignore. As one of the regional organizations that actively respond to UN Sustainable Development Goals and principles for responsible investment, the EU was the first to initiate ESG actions and has intensively advanced a series of advancements to ESG-related regulations in the past 5 years. In China, with announcement of China's 3060 decarbonization goal in 2020, new regulations on information disclosure issued by regulators and stock exchanges, popularity of ESG concepts is also rising. Large listed companies and tech companies that used to be at the forefront of trends are gradually beginning to disclose their ESG reports. The supply chain is a key part that runs through the economic industry. How to embed ESG elements into supply chain management to source high-quality products and services and enhance the market advantages and competitive edges, the resilience of the supply chain, and promote a unified value concept and management tools in upstream and downstream. The 27th forum focuses on this topic and will invite well-known company representatives to exchange on those policies. We have with us company representatives, sustainability experts, brands, and suppliers to share ESG policies, standards, and supply chain management practices with the purpose of helping enterprises reduce potential risks, such as international trade, policy, climate, and industry transformation towards sustainable supply chain. And the high-quality organization of the forum cannot be without the support of the M4 and the mutual benefit between the two organizers, M4 and China Sustainability Tribune. And on behalf of ourselves, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to M4. So please allow me to give floor to Linda Kromjong, the president of M4, to give opening remarks. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Ni hao, good afternoon and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And many thanks to Mr. Yu, our long-term partner, who co-hosts our event today. Warm greetings from Geneva, where I'm currently are, to all of you. And it's my pleasure to virtually participate in this important forum. And today's theme is about ESG and supply chain management. But let me start first with ESG trends. While many hoped the second half of 2022 would bring an end to the challenges of the global COVID-19 pandemic, other challenges have emerged. including soaring energy prices, inflation in commodities caused by the supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical conflicts. All have an adverse impact on livelihood of people and UN Sustainable Development Goals. Amid all the challenges, international organizations and national governments are looking to address and overcome these issues. ESG, environmental, social, and governance, is a concept that is being increasingly adopted by financial institutions, international organizations, and their supply chain actors, including brands, suppliers, and governments, to monitor, manage, and address the risk in their supply chain and the adverse impact to people and planet. We see that there's an increasing trend of national level legislation to uphold the progress towards sustainability. Due diligence on ESG performance is no longer a nice to have, but it is a must do. In the EU, the Green Deal roadmap has been planned to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, for which the European Commission has pledged to mobilize at least €1 trillion in sustainable investments, including climate and environmental related objectives by 2030. Both Germany and Norway have drafted regulations to address business transparency, covering not only local businesses, but also their business partners and global supply chains. We also see China is committed to carbon peak by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060, and has initiated the Global Development Initiative this year to work with stakeholders towards a 2030 agenda for sustainable development. Its first ESG disclosure guidance has been published, which sets out a framework for Chinese companies to report their ESG performance voluntarily. We are happy to see that both EU and China have committed to addressing ESG and achieving greener and more resilient supply chains together. Number two, our Amfori commitment. I am proud to say that at Amfori, as the leading global business association with over 2,500 company members, we are committed to updating our tools to support members and stakeholders partners to manage their ESG performance within their global supply chains. On the social side, Amfori Business for Social Compliance Initiative, Amfori BSCI in short, helps our members to focus on social performance within their supply chains. We have revised the BSCI Code of Conduct, which is based on international labor human rights standards, and this will enter into force by mid-2023. On the environmental side, Business for Environmental Performance Initiative, BEPI, has been sharpened to be more producer-friendly and respond to the latest needs and expectations. Via the BEPI 2.0 pilot, which was successfully completed in China earlier this year, and thanks to a great team, I think it was a really great pilot, Amfori listened to Chinese producers and added simplified Chinese in the risk assessment on the sustainability platform to facilitate better understanding for Chinese producers. To date, BEPI is used by 637 members and 14,888 producers across 15 industries. And the key industry includes clothing, footwear, household furnishing, and toys and accessories. On the governance side, Amfori launched the Quality Management Initiative, Amfori QMI, in the first quarter of this year in China, to provide a set of tools that allow our members to drive quality management capability improvements in their supply chain, to fundamentally enhance their capability for improving ESG performance. In China, many business partners have attended Amfori's capacity building programs, either live in person or in a virtual manner, to ensure they have updated knowledge of ESG. In 2022, there were a total of 40 Amfori BSCI and BEPI training workshops conducted in China and attended by over 1,600 of our business partners. Let me close off now my welcome remarks. We need to turn the recovery into a real opportunity to do things right for the future. I'm quoting here UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The UN Sustainable Development Goals, which cover ESG in a more specific manner, can only be realized if we work together strong global partnership and cooperation. That's what we must strive for. A good example is today's forum, which provides a good platform for stakeholders to discuss and work together to improve the ESG performance in their entire supply chains. We must seize this moment and move forward together. China and Europe should continue exerting positive influence and leading the world to more sustainable development. I hope that today's forum will inspire all of you. Thank you for your kind participation. Cici.
好，非常感谢琳达女士的致辞。她简要的
Thank you very much for the opening remarks, and she has given us a quick overview on the policy development in China and in Europe, and also introduced us the PSCI, BPI, those two initiatives, the social and environment aspects, and also QMI for governance side, and how they are related to each other, how they can be utilized to improve the capability of the supply chain. Thank you. Now let's move on to the keynote speech. And in this part, we're very pleased to have with us 5 speakers. And they're going to speak from different perspectives to exchange with us on the supply chain management and ESG. First of all, I'll give floor to Professor Qian, who is the Associate Dean of Academics at the Swartzman College, also Director of Research Center for Green Economy and Sustainable Development of Tsinghua University. He has long experience in the business ethics and the social corporate social responsibility in area of ESG. She has very deep knowledge, expertise. And in the ESG promoting organizations, he served as advisor. He's also providing advisory services to business on topics of ESG. Let me give floor to Professor Qian to speak on ESG and supply chain management. Welcome. Hello to all. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to share with you my understanding on ESG and supply chain management. This is the contents included in my presentation. First, I will look at development of ESG, and then I'd like to discuss with you why supply chain management matters. And the third is how to manage supply chain for ESG purpose. Along with climate change and the decarbonization targets being set, and also the outbreak of pandemics, sustainability is becoming a topic raising a lot of attention. Since last year, especially this year, ESG is a well-discussed topic in the world of business. It has been expanded from the financial industry to it has evolved into a set of guiding principles as code of conduct for all business operations. And I call it spillover effect. In November of 2021, on COP26, the International Sustainability Standards Board is established, and ISSB, this board, is planning to release ESG reporting guidelines in the end of this year or beginning of next. And this set of reporting guidelines is expected to become the worldwide reporting guidelines. And we have developed 2 drafts to consult for opinions. And that 2 drafts being raised a lot of attention both in China and also the rest of the world. In April 2022, Social Responsibility Bureau of the State-owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission of the State Council was set up in China. This is to guide the implementation of the guidelines and to lead the standardization integrated with the global standards. In May of 2022, the CSR issued a work plan, which is called Work Plan for Improving the Quality of Listed Companies controlled by SOE. And this is to improve the quality of the SOE-controlled enterprises. And it specifies that to enhance the management of the ESG with SOE and listed companies as well. And expected that by 2023, these guidelines will become comprehensive and covering all scopes. For the second part of my presentation, I want to look at the reasons for supply chain to give significance to ESG and why we need to enhance ESG management of supply chain. First point I'd like to make is that given the existing evaluation system of the mainstream rating firms, you would find that ESG performance, their evaluation of businesses, when they do so, they not only look at the traditional dimensions of evaluation, at the same time, they will look at the ESG performance of companies' own operation and also ESG performance of supply chain. We know that the green low carbon development is very important.
Taking the example of carbon emission reduction by enterprises, taking carbon reduction as an example here, I think carbon reduction is a major metrics or index for enterprises. The two carbon targets become a national strategy. Enterprises are concerned about the carbon emission during their operation. They're trying to bring down the reduction through different methods, for example, reducing the waste material and operation waste and replacing with the new clean energy sources and reducing the carbon emission. And not enough for a business to reduce carbon emission in scope 1 and 2 only. They need to pay attention to reduce carbon emission in scope 3. So scope 2 is mainly outsourced or purchased outside from third parties, electricity, heat, and steam. And scope 1 is more of the combustion or the burning, combustion and vehicle, company-owned vehicle emission. And scope 3 are more difficult and complicated portfolio. And the enterprises need to consider about a comprehensive or integrated framework to reduce the carbon emission. Scope 1 is the emission from the corporate assets, and scope 2 are the carbon emission from its operation, but indirect beyond the company's business. And scope 3 are more of the indirect carbon emission. For enterprises, or for most of the enterprises, the big proportion of carbon emission comes from supply chain rather than the internal operation of the enterprises. So it's more, the carbon emission is more from the upstream. For example, in fashion, fast fashion, and textile and other industries, their carbon emission are mostly from scope 3. 99%, 77% or 90% of the carbon emission are from scope 3. So for those type of enterprises, they should focus more on the control of carbon emission in scope 3. So for those enterprises, if you want to reduce the total carbon emission, you need to understand the upstream scope 3 emission, indirect emission from the supply chain. And the enterprises is responsible and need to understand responsible business need to realize the importance of scope 3 emission by closely monitoring and assisting their suppliers to reduce the carbon emission, and also using carbon reduction as one of the metric for KPI assessment. In terms of supply chain management, and also how to improve supply chain ESG performance. Next, I would like to introduce you how enterprises can improve the supply chain management and to further support their ESG performance. So where to start and where to invest. First of all, you should understand better about the international and national ESG schemes and the structure and rating system. There are major rating systems or rating organizations in China and the international community. They both incorporate supply chain management as a part of the ESG performance rating. If the enterprises want to have a higher score of the ESG performance, they need to manage well the supply chain, the quality, delivery, and related transactions with the supply chain. We need to understand the environment performance, and also to create employee welfare and to have the stakeholder management and interest and rights management. And still, taking example of ESG performance improvement by manage well the supply chain, I think we should work together with the enterprises should work together with the supplier by exercising influence power and adding carbon reduction standard and requirements in procurement and supply value evaluation system. In terms of the procurement standard and requirements, you need to require the suppliers to be able to establish a ESG system, and also the supplier should honor your ESG evaluation system. And here on the slides, this is a Siemens Zero Carbon Pioneer Program initiated in September 2021. They committed that in China, they will support over 500 major suppliers to reduce their carbon emission. And starting from 2022, they will incorporate carbon reduction as one of the metrics to evaluate their suppliers, to improve energy efficiency and to save energy, to optimize logistics, and to streamline business travel. So all these efforts are the concern of Siemens to help its supplier to manage well the supply and the ESG performance. So this is helping and strengthening suppliers with a better ESG performance and helping the suppliers to do the transformation. And also, I would like to say we should work collaboratively with different tiers of suppliers to plan an action and develop data management platform for suppliers' carbon emission tracking and disclosing. Here is an example of Lenovo's Green Supply Chain Data Management Platform, GSCDM. And they have a life cycle disclosure and tracking of the materials, incoming materials, and they collect all the data and all the carbon emission data in the process of transportation, delivery, waste disposal, and material production, etc. And also they collect the information and data on water resource, water utility, and electricity utility and related usages. Another way the enterprises should support their suppliers in terms of supply chain ESG performance through the channel of technology, capacity building, and funding. For example, the Inditex works with the Institute of Public Environment Research, IPE, to create an initiative of carbon reduction program and helping to establish online tracking platform for their suppliers to understand the carbon footage and to quantify the carbon emission and to analyze the potential for carbon emission reduction of their suppliers. In the meanwhile, they also suggest that they also propose a potential solution or recommendation for their suppliers to use carbon step by step. And the second, so still the case study of collaboration between Inditex and Institute of Public Environment Research, which is an environmental protection organization. They work together to enhance the supply chain management in China. And with the through the website of the Institute of Public Environment Research, they understand and analyze the upstream supply chain and incoming sources, and understand the equipment and waste disposal equipments of the upstream of the supplier. Downstream enterprises can play a greater role in supply chain management in terms of ESG. Downstream enterprises exert great influence on the upstream enterprises, and retailers and producers should work together. We need to guarantee high quality services and products. In the meanwhile, we need to improve the productivity, advantage, and brand value of the product of the company, of the enterprises. And also, supply chain ESG management is to respond to the growing importance of global sustainability trends and manifest the transformation from high speed to high quality. And also, better supply chain ESG management can enhance enterprises' market advantage, brand influence, and competitiveness, and to improve the enterprise's own ESG rating and to achieve sustainable development. Thank you very much, Professor Chen Xiaojun, introducing us the trend of ESG and why we should manage supply chain in the ESG performance. And thank you for your in-depth analysis and description. For each enterprises and sectors, we should incorporate ESG rating and ESG performance into the sector, into the operation, and into every stakeholder. And all the stakeholders should join hands and working together to support ESG. So with a collective and collaborative efforts, we can improve our ESG activity and operation. Next, I would like to give the floor to Madam Dai Yibo, Vice President of Global Being Consulting Research Working Group, member of ESG Committee and China Association of Public for Public Companies. And Madam Dai Yibo joined Golden Bee Consulting in 2007 and is currently the Vice President and Research Working Group member of ESG Committee. And she has contributed her efforts in the standard making and in these regards. And now I would like to give the floor to Madame Dai to enlighten us on the analysis of EU-China ESG information disclosure guideline standard. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning. With this 10 minutes, I would like to introduce you the China EU ESG information disclosure guideline and standards, and how it influences Chinese enterprises. Here,
最近2
I
年
would
来
like to point
密集
you
出
in
台的这个
Europe
一系
in
列跟
recent 2
ESG
years.
相关的
The
指令法案
EU has
那这
released
一类的指令法案，其实我们
ESG
可以给它
related
分成
documents and
2个类别
regulations.
那第一个类别呢，主要就
And
是
they can
完
be
全
put
围
into
绕
2 categories.
ESG
The
和
first one
可
is
持续发展信息披露的这种
ESG
专项
and
指令法案。
sustainable
那么还
development
有一类呢，
related.
是涉
So
及
they are
ESG
special
信息披露中
regulations
的
and
一些
code
重
on
点领域
ESG
和议题。
disclosure.
那么
And
对
also
于专
there
项
will
的
be some
信息披露的
special
这种报告法令
documents or
，CSRD
regulations
应该来
on
说是
a specific
有
part of
这个极
ESG
强的代表
disclosure.
性或者说是约束力
I
那
think
我们看到在这
all
样的一个
these
法令
regulations
要
and
求里
codes
边，
are of
那么针对供应
high
链方面，
level forces
一方
on
面它指
enterprises.
出了在信息披露中要
For
覆盖
as of
跟
supply
供应链
chain,
价值链相关的劳工实践那么对
the
报告
labor
主体的
practice
要
should cover
提
the
到了
whole
要
the
覆盖
whole
范
length
围
of
3 的
the
温室气
the
体
whole
排放。
the whole
那其
supply
实刚
chain,
才钱
and
老师
also
也
to
讲到，
cover
范围
the
3
3
的这样
scope
的一
of
个温室气体排
3
放问题， 实际上就
scopes
是
of
要求
carbon
报告主
reduction.
体的供应商也
As
能提供相关的
proposed,
这
as
个信
mentioned
息，
by
这是第
the
一类非常明确的
Professor
要求。
Chen,
那还
scope
有一
3
类
is very
涉及
essential.
到 ESG 的相关
It
议
is
题，
mainly
比如
the
说这里边我
proportion
也列举了
the
几个代
carbon
表性的
emission
这种
from
法
the
令草案，
suppliers.
包括
And here
跟
I
气候变
listed
化
some
相关的、
major
跟
and
生物多样性中的
um,
这个森林相关的，以及这个
and
劳工
typical
实践，
typical
还有
codes
就是
and
在供应链上
regulations
的这种
on the
尽责尽职
forest
调查。
on the
那从
forest
这些法令
protection
中，尽管我们看到它不
greenhouse
是专门的一
gases
个
on
ESG 信
carbon
息披露
footage
法令，但是
on
在
the
里边
import
其
and
中的要
export
求，
on
我们却
compliance
看到了
etc.
在
So
ESG 信息
from
透明
these
度上的一些
documentations
指
we can
引
realize
比如
the
说它会要求报告
ESG
主
has
体
its
来
presence
披
in
露如
all
何
in
对
every
供应
part.
链开展
ESG
相
it
关
disclosure
碳排放劳
for
工
example
乃
how
至
can
这
we
个
govern
毁林方面的
the
这样一个
supply
管理要
chain
求
to
那
practice
这
environmental
作为
friendly
报告
low
主体的
carbon
这种
labor
信息披露，也
protection
需要
forest
相应的
protection
供应商
etc.
来提
So
供
this
相关的这
disclosure
种数据
information
和绩效的这种
disclosure
支
need
撑。
the
那
support
这2类法
from
案
the
来讲我
suppliers.
觉得对于
There's
处于
two
这个
codes
这个价值链中的中国企业其
for
实是
Chinese
有着
enterprises. We are
这个
also
非常
part
明
of the
显的影响。
global
那一种
supply
情形
chain.
是，如
I
果
think the
符合
Chinese
它这些
enterprises
指令的这
also
个报告主体的要求，那可能是需要直接
are also
你就要
impacted
披
by
露
this
这方面的
codes.
ESG 信息，
So
包括
the
供应链
Chinese
上的管理信息。
and
那还有
the
一种可能
Chinese
性就是，
enterprises should
我们中国
disclose all
企业
this
作为
ESG
供应商
information and
要
data,
向处于
including
欧洲
the
的这个
data
报告
of
主
the
体，也
suppliers.
就是客户
And in the
提供相关的
meanwhile,
ESG
the
信息。
Chinese enterprises
这是
should
从欧洲的角
supply
度
the ESG
政策法规的
information
这
and
个要
data
求，我们
to
看到的
its
这样一个现状。
to its
那同样在中国其实越来越多的这个企业也面临着 ESG 信息披露在这个政策标准指南方面的这种要求，因为我们看到，特别是在最近这2年，中国相关的这样的政策指南标准也日趋完善。那我们这里也给大家做了一个简单的梳理，我们可以看到以生态环境部证监会以及这个几大证券交易所为代表，纷纷出台了相关的这个指引。那么在这个指引中 ，ESG 报告的相关的指引中，我们看到也完全覆盖了供应链、气候劳工实践等等多个议题。那不仅是已经出台的这个法令。或者说叫指南要求，那其实像现在我们了解到目前中国可能预计会有20-30个相关的这个 ESG 信息披露方面的团体标准也是在制定过程中。所以说，中国企业在这个中国本土在 ESG 信息方面也面临着非常这个明确的外部需求，或者说外部的这种驱动力那企业实际上也在这些方面进行着积极的准备。那么在这样的一个外部环境的推动下，我们来看一下处于全球价值链中的这个中国企业，也就是说，他们在很多情形下是扮演着这个供应商角色的这种企业，在信息披露上目前的一个现状如何呢？在这页 PPT 呢，我给大家这个展示的是我们从 CDP 2021年中国企业披露报告中展示的一些数据。我们看到，中国供应商在2021年收到了更多的来自跨国企业客户的这个 CDP 问卷邀请中国企业的回复数量也接近了2000家，而且相较于前一年这样的一个回复数量，它的增长速度是超过全球的。那么，在这样一个 CDP 问卷的这个回复显示中我们可以看到有2个比较重要的这个领域实际上是跟 欧盟政策关注的领域是密切相关的包括这个气候和这个森林问题我们看到在这两类议题的这个问卷填写，也就是信息的这种披露过程中中国企业整体的这个披露情况都在提升我们看到不论是从战略层面还是从实际的这种行动目标设定层面越来越多的中国企业给予了足够的这个关注那当然了，在具体的这个实践和管理上，如果说跟这个全球国际的一些领先企业比，我们看到还是有差距但是明显的这个上升趋势是不容忽视的。那么同样我们泽阳天下在自己的一些研究分析中我们从金立峰中国社会责任报告数据库中也选取了一些数据在这里跟大家分享。那在这个图中我们显示的是2022年中国发布的2700多份报告的它的一个行业分布。那如果我们把这样的一个行业结合这个中欧贸易进出口产品类别的这样一个行业积极度数据来比较同时也会参考欧盟法律法规在 ESG 上重点关注的行业。那我们这样来看的话我们会发现中国企业披露这个 ESG 信息比较集中活跃的这种行业其实跟欧盟目前比较关注的或者说是极力推动的这些行业披露的要求这个 ESG 信息披露的行业实际上是非常吻合的那同时我们也看到在这个 ESG 信息披露的这个行业我们主要聚焦在这个生产制造类这个企业那么这种行业的这样一个分布也表现着我们这个中国企业在这方面的一个积极应对那么我们再来深入的可以走进这个中国企业的这个信息披露的一个具体的内容。如果我们来做分析的话，同样我们是从这个我们的这个报告数据库里面进行的相关的这样一个内容的选取我们可以看到ESG 议题实际上这是 ESG 信息披露里面的一个重要内容不管是中国还是欧盟的相关政策法规指南要求中其实都有明确的这个提及那在我们的这个统计中发现在回顾过去3年从2020年到2022年期间那么中国企业将这个供应商识别为关键的这个利益相关方并披露供应链实践的这样的一个报告数量或者说在内容中的这样一个占比实际上是一个持续上升的这个状态那我们看到中国企业正在更加积极的承担供应链或者说价值链管理相关运营方面的这种 ESG 责任那么不仅在自身的这个采购中设置相关的这种标准和要求同时也投入相关的这种资源甚至这个财务资源来支持自身的这个供应商能够持续提升 ESG 的这种能力和履责水平那这样的这种实践和管理也是对来自客户政府以及外部机构的一个这个需求的一个有效的响应那么从上述这个数据这样的一个分析我们可以看出那的确外部的这种政策环境对企业 ESG 信息披露的这样一个结果现状正在产生明确的这样的一个影响好那基于从这个刚才的宏观政策分析到相对微观的企业的一个实际信息披露的这样一个状况我们可以看到ESG 的这个信息披露对于中国企业的这种影响还是非常明显的那么对于这个全球价值链中的中国企业如何更好的来提升 ESG 信息披露水平这里边我们也做出了几个方面的思考和建议供大家来参考那第一个呢我们是可以看到从刚才的分析我们可以就是越发清晰的感受到其实现在 ESG 信息披露的这种要求已经从原来的很多年前的这种自愿性向这个合规性要求转变所以说这是一种未来的 ESG 信息披露将成为企业合规管理的一个重要内容那既然面对合规性的这样一个要求或者说是强制性的要求那我们建议企业应该将 ESG 信息披露工作由事后响应转变为这个事前规划事中的持续性采集更新以及对于事后这样一个数据整体的这样一个梳理和分析 所以说它不仅仅把这个 ESG 信息披露，这个定义为或者说叫理解为一个简单的数据收集和报送。
We understand ESG
那么第二块
disclosure
呢，我
information
们
is not a
的
pure
一个这个发
collection
现是
and
看到
presentation of the
ESG 相关信
ESG
息披露
data
的这
is
种
more
内容，实际
complicated
上
and
也
we
是
need
发生了
to
一些
the
变化
ESG
那么企
disclosure
已经
content
从企业
is
相对来
changing
讲
as
比较
well.
习惯的传统
We
的这
need
种财务信
to
息，向更多领
previously
域
it's more
议题方
it
向上的
was
非
more
财
of
务
the
信息
financial and
转变
accounting
那
data,
这
but
种披
now
露内
we
容可
should
能对于一些企业来说，它已经超
incorporate
越了传统
non-financing
的
and
管理边界
accounting
那比如说对于企业
enterprises here.
它就应该有更强的这种敏感性去捕捉新兴的 ESG 议题那这里边也列举了，比如说包括 供应链上的这种环境社会风险问题气候变化问题、生物多样性问题等等。那对于这样的一个议题，企业需要开展专项的管理，甚至说引入更为专业的 ESG 信息披露标准，来加强在这方面信息披露的专业性。那比如说像现在气候变化的这种信息，我们可以参照国际上更为这个通行的 TCFD， 也就是气候相关的这种财务信息披露准则那这个都可以帮助企业在非财务信息的这种披露上更为专业，或者说帮助我们的利益相关方客户更好的理解我们企业在这些 ESG 议题上的这种管理的能力和发展的韧性。好，那最后一方面的这个建议主要是这个我们看到ESG 信息披露质量和水平正在成为企业竞争力的一个重要的衡量标准那我们也意识到，可能未来会有越来越多的全球客户或者说是买家，他们将供应商的 ESG 表现作为他选择供应商的一个重要的参考或者说是标准之一。那么面对这样的一个发展态势，我们也建议企业应该依托更为体系化的系统化的 ESG 管理，来全面提升 ESG 信息数据的这种质量那更好的帮助企业来展示它的一个独特的竞争优势。好那上述呢就是我简单的从中欧2个国家和地区的这种 ESG 信息披露政策标准和要求来分析企业的一种应对，以及在未来有更好的 ESG 信息披露的一个潜在的一个管理措施。好，那我的分享就到这里，谢谢。谢谢主持人。
Your feedback and hope you find it helpful to improve your understanding. Thank you very much, Madam Dai. And you have introduced us the standards on the ESG disclosure and also the updated guidelines. And also you have cited a large amount of data indicating that the impact of the ESG standards on performance change. And also we would like to leverage this ESG standardization and criteria to improve supply chain's competitiveness. Thank you again. Next, we're going to hand over to M4E Environmental Project Manager, Mr. Bruno, to give us a presentation and to give us a presentation on M4E ESG policy and tools. Welcome you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be in this wonderful event. Today, my name is Bruno from AMFRI, Environmental Programs Manager, and I'm here today to talk specifically about the environmental part of ESG, with a little bit of an oversight of policies and tools that we have from the AMFRI's perspective on ESG. So come with me and we'll have a quick look at the different environment of ESG. But first of all, I would like to have a quick introduction about what AMFRI is, because some of you may not know us or may need some refreshment. We at AMFRI are the leading non-profit business association for global commerce, for global trade, and it enables organizations to enhance human prosperity and the use of natural resources in a responsible way and to drive open trade globally. For us, it's very important to focus on our motto, which is that we believe in trade with purpose. Now, if you look at this slide, I think it's very interesting because it puts together everything that we are in one simple slide. First of all, on the left side, you can see what is our profile. What is the profile of our members? We have over 2,500 members that represent 5 1.6 trillion we work with members of 48 countries, and there's a lot of platform users. We have over 55,000 platform users. You'll see about the platform later. I'll show you about the different tools. We have 45,000 producer profiles, and well, it's which is a huge number of producers that are in many countries around the world. There are 17 networks with representatives in each of these networks, and we do over 33,000 monitorings per year. We'll go over that later. You can have a quick snapshot of the membership that we have. You will recognize some of the biggest members in this slide. We also work with many SMEs. They represent, in number, SMEs represent a bigger proportion than large companies, but in turnover, of course, large companies represent a bigger proportion. We also work together with lots of partners, some of them directly linked to social issues, others to environmental issues, and others just very specifically related to our projects. In the bottom right, I want you to pay attention to this quick continuous improvement square, because it's really relevant to what we're discussing today. When we talk about continuous improvement on AMFRE with our members and producers, we're talking about continuous improvement in very specific areas that are very related to ESG. Environmental due diligence, BEPI, which is related to the E, social due diligence, BSCI, very related to the S, and then we have governance due diligence. We have many tools for this. We have QMI, business intelligence, risk management, and speak for change, and other things that are very related to the G. And all of this is fully accompanied by our capacity building and advocacy, which are really important parts, really important legs of this table, which is AMFRE. I will come back later on BEPI, BSCI, and QMI so that we understand better what they mean. Just for some perspective, I'm really glad to be talking in an event in China with Chinese colleagues and Chinese companies, producers, and stakeholders, because it's an amazing market. It's an amazing part of our business in AMFRE. As you can see, it represents about 80% of all the producers that we have. You can see percentage on the top, but at the bottom you can see the exact number of business partners that we have with a profile in our platforms, and you can see how China stands out a lot. On the top right, you can see a little bit of the different amount of sites that we have per initiative. BSCI is almost 50,000, BEPI almost 15,000, and QMI around 70. But don't be fooled, it's very different. The reality of each one of these three tools is very different. BSCI has been there for a very long time. BEPI has been there for a short time, and it was a sort of a pilot that has now been improved. And QMI has just been launched, and it's a great success because it's only been launched recently in China. So, as you know, ESG is something that is on the word of mouth of everyone, but it's been there for a long time. We've already been working on environmental, social, and governance issues for a long time. All of this is driven by legislation that was already there, but the legislation that is already changing and is continuously changing. So these are the challenges that we have to face, and this is where ESG plays an important role and where AMFRE accompanies members, right? First of all, look at AMFRE BSCI tool being created in 2003, and how the different legislations at country level, like California Transparency in Supply Chains Act, and then the international level, like European Union Financial Reporting Directive, or OECD Responsible Business Conduct Guidance, and then very specific legislations that are being created in different countries, like a very important one, which is the German Supply Chain Due Diligence Act. You can see how we've been evolving and adapting to this legislation as well, and foreseeing legal changes that we can foresee in the future. And BSCI came to be in 2014. So you can see how BSCI and BEPI fit within this process, and then QMI, which was launched this year. As a short summary of what I just mentioned, and forgive me to not go into detail of all those legislations, because it would take a lot of time, and it would be indeed an amazing conversation that we could have. We have this set of tools at AMFRE. As a summary, there are more things that we do, but this is the summary of the biggest tools that we have. First of all, AMFRE BSCI, it enables companies to monitor and improve working conditions of workers throughout the supply chain. AMFRE BEPI enables companies to monitor environmental performance and continuous improvement of environmental issues in production sites throughout the supply chain. AMFRE QMI, which enables companies to monitor and improve the quality management capabilities of the producers themselves. And this has been available in China since this year, since 2022. And then it is all complemented, like I mentioned, by capacity building and by advocacy, which engages with local and global level stakeholders, which is a really key part that feeds all of the other tools as well. So what is Humphrey-BSCI? It was founded in 2003 to drive sustainability by setting up the social due diligence principles. It's very successful, and the most important parts of it are the audits. There are 3 types of audits: a one-site audit for food and non-food, multi-tier audits, which are only for food, and small producer assessments, which are for non-food only. You can see the different size of the factories, and for over 35, we use the one-site audit. I'm going to go really quickly over this because I want to focus on the E, which is the environmental part. And for that, we have recently, since 2014, developed BEPI. But now, because environmental sustainability is so important, we have recently launched a new platform, a new BEPI platform in our sustainability platform, a new BEPI tool. It responds to all the different regulations that are driving the changes and the challenges on environmental performance. Environmental performance is ever growing. There's a lot of interest by consumers. There's a lot of interest by different stakeholders. And therefore, we've been trying to fit all the logic of different legislations into one tool that provides members and their producers the opportunity to improve and enhance environmental sustainability. You can see here a set of different tools, of different legislations. Some are current, like that you probably will know, like the one on hazardous chemicals or environmental footprint, the European Union Timber Regulation. Some of them are shifting. For example, the European Union Timber Regulation, which focused on timber. Now it's moving to deforestation due diligence, which focuses on 6 commodities, including timber, soy, beef, and leather, etc., etc. Right? So environmental legislation is becoming more and more stringent, more and more challenging, and therefore companies need to adapt more and more to this new legislative environment. Now, Humphrey BEPI is a tool that drives improvements throughout the supply chain within 8 environmental performance areas that we're going to see now. It has a risk assessment at the core. The idea is to measure the risk and then provides a set of tools and activities that enables the producers and therefore the members to improve environmental performance. These are the 8 areas that are considered on the E, on the environmental part, on BEPI. These 8 environmental areas are environmental management systems, waste, energy and climate, which includes a climate calculator, chemicals, water and effluents, biodiversity, nuisances, and emissions to air. For any of you who used our old platform, you know that we had 11. We haven't gotten rid of anything. We just merged some of them that were very similar to make it easier for the questionnaires and the audits to be performed. Now, Humphrey BEPI is practical and collaborative. It makes producers and members work together to improve performance. What is Humphrey BEPI not? And this is very important. We're not a certification scheme. There are no certificates, not a product label, not a legal compliance tool, not a one-off process. It's continuous. It has to be done continuously. Once you have the results, the idea is to see how we can make it better year after year. And it's not only for business partners. Members have to get engaged, suppliers have to get engaged, producers, factories have to get engaged. It's a very interesting way of collaborating. As you can see, this tool can be done in any country, in any sector, and in any tier of the supply chain. And you can see the number of active members and producers we have, about 15,000 and growing, with, of course, our top 3 producing countries being China #1. This is the member journey of Humphrey BEPI. First of all, there's a materiality assessment, supply chain mapping. Then the risk is measured, which is based on questionnaires and profiles of the sites. Once these sites complete their questionnaires, we know the risk that they have in the environmental performance. And we monitor and report progress. What are the different improvement activities that we can do in Humphrey BEPI? Environmental monitoring, which are audits. Consultancies, which is a continuous support during a longer period of time on specific issues. Capacity building, it can be one-on-one, face-to-face, online, or assigned specific topical trainings. And chemical management in fashion for textile and footwear. We have chemical management for textile and footwear in partnership with ZDHC. Now, that's on the environment. Environmentally speaking, it's a very complete tool, which after you do the results, you can always go to the business intelligence tool that we have, Humphrey Insights, where you can see all the different data, you can monitor on it, you can report it, and you can set targets for the future, okay? And as always, I recommend that big companies always do a materiality assessment, and SMEs as well. They do a materiality assessment to really know what they're doing. And then when they monitor the results, they can see how they're doing, and they can also redo their materiality to see what are their topics that they want to focus on for the next cycle, right? Now, once we've done the environment, we also have a QMI, which is fairly new. It's an initiative to give professional guidance and assessment tools for manufacturing practice and quality management in the production sites. It has a common standard for cross industries that it leads to avoiding audit fatigue, which is very important, reducing audit costs, and joint monitoring of sustainability risks, of quality management capabilities throughout the whole supply chain, as usual. Now, Amfori provides a set of tools that members to address members and market needs, like reducing duplicate audits, costs, improve quality management competence, and joint risk monitoring. And to define, and therefore, there are certain things that we need to do, like identifying new sustainable producers. That's very important. And streamlining supply chain partners. There's always this multidimensional approach to risk monitoring and international functions alignment. Now, before we finish, I would like to remind you that Amfori has a big set of capacity building tools. It's very important. And as you can see here, we have a few trainings coming up on BEPI, but there will be more next year. There will be a lot of them because we have the new tool that we have to launch. So we will have a lot of trainings. And then, of course, we have BSCI trainings that have taken place during this year and that they will be replicated next year, like the ones you can see here on the screen. From getting started with this BSCI or getting started with BEPI to very specific trainings on the different specific issues of each of the tools. I would like to thank you very much. It's a short presentation, but I hope we've covered everything. I hope you will be able to see the recording or the materials later on. If you have any questions, you can contact us at info@amfori.org, and we will be willing to answer your questions. Thank you so much. 谢谢。
好，非常感谢 Bruno 先生向我们介绍了 M4。
Thank you, Bruno, for the introduction. Thank you for the presentation. 3 very important initiatives and a set of tools. BSCI has been launched, it's launched 20 years ago. It's been 20 years, and it's a very important standard that being applied in the corporate social responsibility. And for us to carry on the work of ESG, it still plays a significant role in guiding. Now we will move on to the next part of the presentation. They are 2 enterprise representatives to share with us their practice experiences in ESG management for supply chain. First, we will invite Managing Director, LDCR Support Asia Limited, Mr. Christian Lohov, and to share with us their experience on LD CSR journey. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Warm welcome and greetings from Hong Kong. My name is Christian Lohov, and I am happy to be invited from Amfori and the China Sustainability Tribune for today's presentation. I would like to take you on the journey from Aldi in regards to ESG. Maybe just some quick facts about me. I have been in the industry for over 16 years in different areas of the supply chain, from buying also then to corporate responsibility. And I've been now in Hong Kong. Wow, it's almost over 7 years with my family. And yeah, I'm really happy to share Aldi's ESG journey now with you. So maybe to kick off this whole thing, who is Aldi? Aldi actually is a short form for Albrecht Discount. Albrecht Discount is the name of the founder combined with what they have actually done. And then what they've done is they invented the discount business model. That means that we have a very limited range of products, only the best sellers, and that as a private label. So that was really the huge idea what the 2 brothers, Karl and Albrecht, had in the 50s when they took over the shop from their father. They split in the 60s. Nobody really knows exactly why they split, but there are some rumors that it was about selling cigarettes, yes or no? We will never know the truth, but what was really incredible is a success story of Aldi after that. So we have nowadays, fast forward to 2022, over 286,000 employees worldwide. We have over 12,000 stores in 20 countries. And now we also have, since 2019, from Aldi South, 31 stores in China. So if you ever are in the Shanghai area, I encourage you to stop by in one of our shops. There should be nowadays 31 of them, so you should be able to find them. Then also in 2019, we had a merger, and we have now a joint venture company for corporate responsibility, and you will learn in a couple of seconds more about it. And our turnover cumulated from Aldi North and South together is around 89 billion euros annually. So if you see, starting in the 50s now to 22, it's quite an amazing success story. So you learned already a little bit about the joint venture. So who is a joint venture? The joint venture is Aldi CR Support Asia Limited, and that is actually where I'm the managing director together with my colleague in Germany. She is founded in 2015 by Aldi North and became the first joint venture of North and South in July 2019. At the moment, we have two locations. One is in Hong Kong, where I'm situated, and we have another unit in Bangladesh, where we have 12 people currently working, and in Hong Kong, we are 20. So what do? We are the operational CR unit of Aldi North and Aldi South to really implement the CR strategies and programs in the sourcing countries. So what does that mean, and how do we do that? I always say that we are the eyes and ears of Aldi in the sourcing countries, because it really helps you to give perspective to the headquarters when they are developing new strategies and programs. So that is the one thing, knowledge hub. So that is a very important piece of our work, in my personal opinion. And of course, we are doing all the monitoring, meaning going into the sourcing countries, looking and working together with our suppliers and factories to see how are the standards, where can we improve, and that is combined then a little bit with the capacity building, what we do, to really try to drive improvement. And of course, one important thing is the stakeholder engagement. That is exactly what I'm doing today, for example, to give really some more content and knowledge about Aldi and what we stand for and what we want to achieve. And of course, unfortunately, hopefully not that often, one of our duties is crisis management. So in case something happens in the sourcing countries, we will be there firsthand and try to give support and information to our headquarters so that they know how to do the next steps. So I called the presentation Journey, because for me, it's a journey, and sometimes you forget in the daily work how far you have come. If I look back, for me and for, I guess, a lot of people, CR was just perceived as kind of mitigating reputational risks. So if something happens, CR was going there trying to make amends and trying to find ways of making sure that this is not happening again, and that the reputational risk is mitigated. Nowadays, I guess to 2022, we are in a very, very different spot. Nowadays, it's really kind of a mainstream topic. Everyone is talking about it. If you see in Davos, the World Economic Forum, ESG is all of a sudden a big topic. Then you have the banks and the financial industry who are looking into sustainable investments and giving out green loans. You have, on the other hand, major consultancy firms who all of a sudden start to set up practices for just sustainability. And if you even see the consumer and the new employees of the future, they would like to work for companies who fulfill a purpose. And I guess this is really showing us that the whole topic of ESG is now mainstream. So, and also the development within the companies have changed. Nowadays, I guess in a lot of companies, you have the overall global business strategy, and the CR is a very important pillar. So everything is kind of melted together so that the whole business and CR is working in the same direction. So that's also why I wanted to share today with you 3 areas, focus areas, what we have identified as Aldi based on our business model and what we do. And for us, the major important topics in this area would be reducing greenhouse gas emissions, sustainable packaging, and mitigating salient risk in our supply chains. So coming to the greenhouse gas emission, what have we done? We have actually were one of the first international food retailers who set science-based targets for scope 1 and 2. So scope 1 means our direct emissions, what we are creating in our stores and for example, logistics and so on. And then you have scope 2, that would be the indirect emissions. That means from all the purchased energy we buy, what kind of emissions does that is. So for us, we set the goals that we would like to reduce the scope 1 and 2 emission by a certain year. And we are working really hard to fulfill these promises and the targets we have set. What is also very interesting, because that is really where most of our emissions as a retailer come from, because we are not the manufacturer. So in scope 3, you have actually the biggest part of the emissions in our supply chain. And that are all indirect emissions which are not in scope 2 that occur in the value chain. So meaning in the sourcing countries or with our suppliers, if we look, for example, for dairy and meat. So that is where really most of the emissions will happen. And there we set the goal that by 2024, 75% of our suppliers, but that is by share of GHG emission. So that is something very important to understand, because you have some industries in our portfolio who are more responsible for greenhouse gas emissions than others. So, but we would like to get 75% of that they commit to science-based targets by 2024. And then also we have some projects in certain supply chains where we would like to work with them to reduce the carbon footprint by 2025. Then, of course, packaging. Packaging is for us as a retailer majorly important, and I guess for everyone in the supply chain. So there's a lot of positives. It can extend shelf life. It make things even transportable. But also, if that is not properly thrown away or recycled, it also pollutes a lot of the oceans and nature. Plus, you need a lot of energy and water and raw materials to produce packaging. So what we as Aldi said, okay, we have the benefit of being a private label company. So we have also the possibility to make changes to packaging and see what is perfect for us. And so we started our packaging mission, and that is based on 3 or 4 pillars. Recyclability. So that means all of our own brand products will be recyclable. Then efficiency of packaging materials, that will be done by 2025. We committed that we are using 30 to 15% less packaging materials, and recycled plastic, reduction of plastic use. In all our own branded products, we will only contain at least 30% of recycled material. Also, what will be very interesting and challenging will be the no packaging at all for fresh produce. There we will try to offer 40% of fresh produce without packaging. So coming from the E to the S, of course, we have a huge amount of supply chains, and they are very complex. And how we deal with that is actually that we have a CR risk analysis. In the CR risk analysis, we are looking at all different supply chains of Aldi, and we have a certain matrix behind it to really rate the different supply chains. And then we come up with high risk commodity groups. And for this high risk commodity groups, we will have specialized programs. And we have the basic requirements for all the other commodity groups. And there we are heavily reliant, and since a long time already, on third-party audits like, for example, Amphori, to really manage the vast majority of our supply chains. So I hope that gave you already a little bit of an understanding about the S. And now we come to the G. The G is for me actually maybe even the most important, because only a functioning G leads really to a successful E and S. Yeah, so I guess without a proper commitment and integration and structure in the company to really fulfill the goals of E and S, it is very, very difficult. Yeah? It really needs to be embedded in the company policies. And what you need and what is really the most important is the tone from the top. So you need to get the commitment from the owner or shareholder, depending on your structure, because they are the ones driving it. And in my personal opinion, there is unfortunately no size fits all strategy, but you have to get their commitment. You have to develop the things in the E and the S together with them and identify it for yourself as a company. And then if you have identified it together with the top management and the owner, you have to see what are the key stakeholders in my company to make the change and to lead to success. And for them, it needs to be part of their KPIs of their daily work. And then with a lot of, how to say that, commitment and work toward this goal, I think you can make the ESG journey much quicker successful than without a proper governance structure. What do we think about the future of ESG? ESG is definitely a topic which is here to stay. So there is very little that it's going away. Yeah. So maybe short term, yes, due to a lot of things going on with all the crises and happening around the world right now. But it's definitely a long-term topic, and it is here to stay. For me, very important to be really successful. What I learned over the last couple of years is no one can do it alone. We need to have politics, businesses, and customers all pulling in the same direction to be successful, because no one alone can handle this huge topics of ESG. What we need for this is really a strong data-driven mindset, and we need to be able to connect data points along the value chain. Only with this, I guess, we have a very good basis to really understand all the different things and being able to really drive this journey forward. So for me, what are the most important topics? Also, if we look at the supply chains, I guess the most important topics are the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, also that we protect the environment and the resources, especially water and biodiversity, and that we really try to reduce waste and working towards a circular economy. And the story, what we have always had is, of course, mitigating the salient risk in the supply chain. So I guess these topics are really the driver in the sourcing countries for the next, I hope for a long time, so that we can be very successful in our journey and hopefully come to a happy end. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion later.
好，非常感谢 Kristen 先生的分享，向我们介绍了奥乐奇ESG 的相关的重点的领域，以及他们在推动 ESG 方面的所做的。
Thank you very much for your introduction, and thank you for your sharing on the practice of LD in ESG and supply chain management. And later on, we're going to have more in-depth discussion in the QA session. Now, I would like to have the final keynote speaker, the Mr. Huang Zemin from SCAL, and the topic would be Sailing Towards Sustainability. Max Wong, Associate Director of Corporate Social Responsibility, SCAL. Now the floor is yours. Good morning, good afternoon, and it's really an honor to introduce you to SCAL group and our exploration on social responsibility and ESG. And give you a brief introduction. We started 40 years ago, and now we have a very successful experience accumulating knowledge in operating vertically integrated supply chain, people-centric development, and we are based in Asia, but serve the world, the global markets. So we have developed a vertical supply chain And our business started from shirts and textile, and now has developed into a more wider scope. And we are now having both the textile production, manufacturing, and other businesses and investment business. One family business not listed on the markets. We have 227,000 employees worldwide. How do we manage our business, and how do we manage our commitment? I think trust and accountability is very important. Trust and respect is very important. And fun people serving happy customers is the mission and is the belief of SQL Group. For a long time, we are a steady advocate for climate change, transformation, and narrowing the wealth gap. And making a difference has been the long-term vision of SQL. And we have two targets. The first one is tackle against the climate change, and the second is narrow the wealth gap. In 2021, we disclosed and we issued the zero pledge of the group, and which is by 2050, we are committed by 2050 achieve greenhouse gas emission neutrality, and start with having greenhouse gas emission by 2035 from the level of 2018 level as baseline. And this is more of the specific our roadmap to net zero. The first one is to maximize the energy efficiency, and the second is to use the material with responsibility and to use clean energy as a priority. Years ago, we have practiced sustainable development and concepts.
4 areas we have identified for the sustainability, and we have established a governance system to regulate development for the sustainability targets in it. Let me introduce one after another. First, at the environment side, and by the end of 2020, our emission reduced by 23% over the basis of 2018, and that carbon emission data has been verified by a third party as well. In addition, since 2005, we have invested altogether 150 million for the water management, water consumption management. And we have developed a very leading system, and the per capita energy consumption reduced by 50% this year on basis of 2005. And the production use of water reduced by 68%. We have established the world-leading water purifying center, which is ahead of the level of the country, even the world. And in 10 years of efforts, we developed the waterless dyeing technology. This is unprecedented and very revolutionized technology, and this has been approved by the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Textile Association has verified it as the world-leading status. Textile industry used to be regarded as the heavy polluting business, but we are nothing conventional in a conventional industry. With advancement of science technology and also development of talent to empower our people so that they know how to operate this intelligent system by using machines, not to replace manpower, but to solve shortage of manpower instead. Cooperation between machine and human can improve the efficiency of our work, improve productivity, and increase pay to employees so that to improve their well-being. For employees, we customized a very diversified plan for the development. We have the training system, very comprehensive one, as both online and offline training. And in last year, our investment in the development is over $10 million. And we have been developing with university as well to improve their experience. Since 2015, we have provided the full scholarship of tuition for them to be further trained, educated in universities. And by promoting Dining 2.0, that is our concept to develop the advanced dining environment so that to improve their working productivity. And 70% of our employment are female. Therefore, last year we signed the Women Empowerment Principle by the UN Global Compact. In terms of products, we have 40 years of experience, and we have a set of service offering which covers the green solution for production of raw material to the final product. To give you a few examples, together with the Academy of Social Science, we have completed the research on the seeds of cotton, and also cattle its roots, not grass, not the roots. So this kind of farming is better for the sustainability of the grassland. And for the traditional dining industry, we have been working hard to study and promote pollution-free products so that it consume less energy and generate less waste. For community is a very important player or important element in sustainability. We have established this education foundation, which give focus to children or school children in remote areas to improve their awareness of environmental protection and to improve the understanding of well-being. We have various projects. For example, some culture exchange and education exchange projects. We also have the eyesight screening project, and that's been demonstrated in some remote areas in Xinjiang province. We provide that screening and eyesight checking services free of charge. And by 2021, there were over 20,000 school children benefit from this project. And also we donated glasses, and also we donated money for them to take surgical operation if it's necessary. I have a short clip of video for you. And I would like to introduce to you this 实如. And this is actually a demonstration of our philosophy. And we are leading the industry as we are ushering in a new era of sustainability. Production and sustainability can be balanced. This is not applicable to textile, but also to other conventional manufacturing industries as well. If you are interested, I invite you to pay a visit to 实如 and to exchange further with you on topics of sustainability. Thank you.
谢谢黄总的分享。
Thank you very much for the presentation, introducing us at your practices in implementing CSR and ESG. I believe I speak for everyone. We're very interested. I look forward to more exchanges with you. With that, I'd like to thank all the 5 speakers. And speaking from perspective of academy, of industry enterprises, and international association, improved our understanding of relationship between ESG and supply chain management. They're all very meaningful and inspiring. Now we're going to move on to the discussion. We have 4 panelists in this panel, and to discuss on how ESG improve the sustainability of supply chains. 4 panelists, they are Director of Strategic Cooperation of CSR, Mr. Wang Lianshen, welcome you. And also our former previous speaker, Mr. Christian, Managing Director of ALDICR Support Asia Limited. And also we have with us Mr. Li Ping, Senior Manager of Public Affairs Department of Yihai Carry Arowana Holdings, and Mr. Max Wang, Associate Director of Corporate Social Responsibility, SCAL. Welcome all the panelists to discuss together how ESG can improve sustainability of supply chains. 4 panelists, 2 of them already made presentation. And the other 2 is also to exchange with us on the relevant topics. I want to go to the 2 speakers first, because their presentation interests us a lot. We may have some follow-up questions to exchange them from their presentation. I already collected some questions here. My first question goes to Christian with the LD. As you mentioned in your presentation, ALD has many suppliers, both globally and in China. For suppliers in China, how do you recommend your Chinese suppliers to understand ESG requirements more effectively, so that they can better understand ESG criteria, ESG provisions from the legislation, regulation, especially for those interested suppliers, if they are to carry out ESG management, what they can do, what will be the first step? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit also related to the topic of my presentation. I called it the journey of ALDI in regards to ESG. And I think what is really crucial to understand the development, yeah, because it's important to understand that in the past, all the ESG topics were mainly driven in Europe and the US by customers and civil society. Yeah, so that was the main driver of the whole ESG topics. So that means that it was very much depending on the individual business or sector of how much they actually do in the ESG sector. So there has been sectors, in my personal opinion, from where I come from as a retailer, where we put a lot of effort in. Yeah, for example, textiles. If we look back to Rana Plaza, what happened? Yeah, so all of a sudden, everybody in the industry of textiles went to Bangladesh, established the Accord and the Alliance. So you had really some specific sectors where the magnifying glass was on. Yeah, and then you had also a lot of other sectors, especially if we talk about China, where for us, the majority of our hard goods come from. The focus over there, other than toys, was very limited to none. Yeah, so I guess that gives us a feeling of the imbalance in sectors of where we actually worked in ESG, and that is now completely changing. Yeah, because I guess we have learned in the presentations today, also from my other speaker colleagues, that it's now about legislation. Yeah, so the legislation landscape has changed quite a bit over the last couple of years, and it's got wider and wider and wider. So that has for me one big advantage, because it creates an even and playing field between different actors in the supply chain if they are working or coming from these areas like Europe or the US. So that also means that it's a big advantage for the Chinese suppliers or the suppliers actually worldwide, because all of a sudden it's not just a single customer or two customers who have certain requirements. Now it's really coming from everyone because it's legislation and they have to adhere to it. So it makes also the life in regards to requirements for our suppliers a lot easier. And this is also for me a huge opportunity for our partners, like for example Amphori, to be the connector, to being the platform. There are so many people are connected on the Amphori platform, like Saguna said from Amphori earlier, where we can actually share best practices. We can explain a little bit more to the sourcing countries what is the upcoming legislation, what does it mean for us. So I think that is there a great possibility to use these networks to really understand the whole thing a little bit better. And as I said in my presentation, we can only do it all together. There is no one who could do it alone, and the legislation will definitely help in that.
Okay, thank you very much， 谢谢。那我们接下来的问题呢是问给伊达。
My next question goes to Max with the SQL. Your presentation, I believe, is very inspiring to us. And there are some creative, innovative technology that you developed, water-free dyeing technology, and could it be applied wider? And could you please introduce more on that technology?
Okay, 好的。
Sure.
纺织行业呢是典型的
Textile industry
高能耗、高水耗的行业。
with the energy intensive and also of high pollution. Globally speaking,
第二大的行业，每年都产生
the
的废
second
水
largest
呢，大概
consumer
有
of water. This water generated accounts
我们
for
伊达对
20%
于
of the
水资
total.
源的管理呢，主要有
And
3
our
重警戒。
management of water
第一重呢，就
resources
是
are of
通
three
过
levels.
高效的净水系统来拦截和转化污染物，不排放不达标的污水。 第二呢，就是减，我们希望减少用水，通过高效回用、中水回用这些来减少这个耗水量。第三呢，我们通过创新的零水染色技术，更符合过程中对水和化学品的这些需求。在去年，我们成功研发出这个世界首创的零水染色体系。在纯棉领域上真正意义的零水染色。 之前有提过，这个零水染是一个颠覆性的技术我们也通过了国家的验收，达到了这个国际领先的水平。我们这个零水染色其实是一个透过绿色可循环的有机溶剂来代替水。作为新型的染色技术呢，它可以节约用水、用盐去到100%，节能呢达到40%。 这个溶剂还可以回收再用，回收率达到99%以上。而且呢，无需于对这些线杀进行前处理或者后处理，彻底的改善了传统染色后水洗或者是污水的这些处理问题。我们整体的估算了一下，如果我们整个行业都用这个零水染的技术的话呢，其实我们每年可以节省大概194个西湖的水。
We can reduce the water consumption of water waste that is equal to the total volume of 194 Westlake of Hangzhou municipality.
可以减轻政府的环保压力，或者是企业生产的这个限制，也逼着行内的其他的这些企业呢去提升。我们觉得零水染色这个技术呢将会成为以后主流印染生产的一个方式。
business
现行的一些企业呢，我
flexibility
们觉得就可
to
以得到更多的
enterprises.
优
Currently
势。
speaking,
那也可以对一些缺水的地区呢带来一些福音，
this
可以
technology
改
or
善大
technique
家的
can
工作
also
环境，
serve
也可以解决一些就业的问题。
people
我觉
or
得整体来
facilities
说
or
呢，是可以
factories
对整个
in
经济和社会
places
发展都
where
带来一些
water
正面的影响。
resources is limited. And I think this is
谢
a
谢。
great environmental contribution, a social contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your introduction and also sharing us with this great potential of your new technology and new the leading solution to replace the water in the dyeing process, the water dyeing technique. In pursuing the integration of human activity and nature, I think it's quite a great attempt and trial. And I hope you can introduce us more. Maybe next year on the 28th forum.
可以啊，非常欢迎。
You mentioned
对，
you
因为
have
这个
you
时间
have
的
a
问题，所
garden
以也
a
不能。我们当然
facility
有更多的这
or
些信息
you
啊，或
have
者
a
短片也
garden-like
很高兴可以后面跟大家
factory
再去分享。
facility. So maybe next year we can
那
have our
可能在国
forum
内大家都
to
知
be
道
held at
桂
your
林山水甲天下嘛。那我们公
garden-like
司在
facilities.
2012年也在桂林这个地方就
We
启动了
understand
我
in
们石炉的这个专案。其实
12 in
石炉
Guilin,
概念呢，是我们公司
we
希望
in
在一个传统
Guilin
行业，我
municipality
们
we started
如何
an
保持竞
initiative.
争力的这个
And
前提下面
because
呢，
in
实战
textile
可
industry, we
持
want
续发展
to
的这个理念。
maintain our
之后
competitiveness
呢，
and
我们
also
也
to
更把
practice
石炉
sustainable development
英文是
concepts.
integral 这个地方呢定名为可
It
持
is
续发
called
展园林。
integral. We want
其实
is
石
so
炉
this
这
is
个
the
名字呢是来
sustainable
自佛学
development
的
garden.
一些经典，叫
It is
《法华经》里面的石炉寺，
it actually
代表着一
originated
种
from
传统
the
的哲
Buddha
学理念，
classics.
意味着不懈追求，力争完美。那
It
英文
says
是叫
it
integral，integral 呢是
indicates
数学
the
上
constant pursuit of
一些点
perfection.
滴变化累积起来，积
So
少成多的
integral
意思。
is a cumulative
无论
process
我们在石炉的这个
of
设
a
计
small
生产
small
还有
behaviors or
管理
small
运营上面呢，
actions
我们都是秉承着
day
可
by
持续发展
day
的这个理
and
念。
finally build
我们专重
build a
和
tower
保
with a
留
sand
原
or
始
building a
的
tower with
地
with
缘
all
这
these
个风
pieces
貌
of bricks. Is trying to
动
have
用
the collective work and
土地原来
cumulative
的这
work
个低
of
洼的
daily
地势呢，
sacrifice
将
and
我
daily
们的建
contribution.
筑物呢都
So
是跟
this is
背后
also
的
the
群山自
combination.
然
This
融
is
合，
also
也
the
尽可
effort,
能使用
aspiration and
当地
commitment
或
of
者是一
us.
些
Start from little,
回收
start
材
from
料
daily
来
operation, start
来
from
作为
routines.
建筑的。
And we
我们
use
通过一系列的
the
这个
materials next
建
to
筑技
us as
术
the
或者是
construction
能源管理，
material.
让我们整个
We
园区
have
呢都
our
处于
very
一个
special
低碳
construction
运行的
techniques
状
and
态。
material
打个譬如，
technologies,
我们
and to
会用
make
很
sure
多
the
大
whole
面积
garden
的
or the
这
whole
个
in the
低辐
park
射玻璃幕
is
墙，
is
既能采
sustainable.
光
For
又能节省
example,
能源。
we use the
我们的
wall
光道体系统
window
呢，可以把阳光
and
带
to
进
help
我
us
们的室内，
enlarge the lighting
可以代
and
替传统的
also
照
to
明。
reduce and also helping us to
我们
create
建筑的外栏
all
呢
these
是
wall
用了一些
panels
竹
or
制的木板，
also help us to
然后这些木
reduce
板呢
the
是按照有规律的这个角度来
to reduce
传转
energy
的。一方面
consumption
呢
of the
可以有这个
building.
视觉的效果，另外一方面呢也可以帮助这
I
个
think
空
all
气的
these
流通，
very
可以带
beautiful
来
wall
冬暖
panel or
夏凉的一
panel
些效
walls
果。
helps to reduce
我们
help
在
to
石炉
improve the
也
beautiful
实现
the
了
aesthetic value
工
of
业
this
零废水排
of this
放，
whole industry of all these
因为
buildings, but
呢我们是
also
采用了
helps
这
to
个
preserve
环保
heat
的
during winter
洗水
and
设备，
to
仅需要比
improve
传统的
and
洗漂方
also
法
to
4%的
bring
用
us
水就可以
a
达到
sense
传
of
统的成衣洗水效
a
果
sense of
和这个品质。
refreshing during the summertime.
另外，
And
我们
this is
从
also very
2018年
environmental
已经开
friendly.
始跟这个
Just give you an
中
example,
国科
another
学院
example.
昆
Since
明
2018, we're
昆明
working
植
with
物
the
研究所合
Kunming
作，
branch
在石炉呢建立全中国第一个
botany
天然
branch
染
of
料植物园
Chinese Academy
和
of
研发中
Sciences.
心。
We set up the
希
first
望呢我们去
natural
开展这个天然染料的产业
beverage
化的这个研究
dyeing
和推广。
dyeing material, dyeing
在
solution
另外一方面
development.
我们也
So
推
we're
行
trying
绿
to
色生
develop
活，
the very
在
organic,
衣
pure
食
or
住行上面呢
nature
都有
from
这个
nature,
可持续发展的一
organic
些元
dyeing
素。
material from
我
nature,
们
from
都
the
会
nature.
跟我们的员
So
工
all
提供一
these
些工
efforts
服，
and solutions
我们也
are from
倡导
us,
这个回收，
and we
然后
build all these
把它
efforts this together with the staff, and we put sustainability and ESG as a part of the business and corporate value and corporate culture, and also we recycle the uniforms of our staff and to put them into raw material, to recycle all these materials and to reduce the waste in our park, in our garden, in our facilities and factories. And in terms of the employee welfare, we're trying to provide up to standard nutrition to our staff, and also healthy meals to our staff. Thank you very much for your introduction. I think it's quite thorough. It's quite in detail. You bring us a great example, a very vivid example from different perspectives how to practice ESG and social responsibilities. And you're a close partner with the Chinese Association of the Textile Industry. And maybe again, like previously we held the this forum in Beijing and Shanghai. Maybe next time we can try in another city, in your park. Next, I would like to give the floor to Li Ping, Senior Manager of Public Affairs Department of Yihai Curie Aravana Holding Co. Limited. You also have a strong supply chain and supplier networks. I just want to understand Yihai Curie's perception on ESG improve sustainability of supply chain. Good afternoon and good morning. It's my pleasure to attend this forum on behalf of Yihai Curie. As mentioned by the moderator, we are a leading company in oil and agricultural products, in food sector. And I would like to introduce you on behalf. I would like to introduce us the sustainability of supply chain. From the business operation perspective, we work closely with the farmers, and we help the farmers to improve their technology and techniques to reduce the fertilizer usage and to reduce the chemical usage during the agricultural activities. And also we help them to protect the soil, and to improve the productivity and annual yieldings. And also the second phase is the processing phase of all these raw materials or these raw products. And we make sure we provide high quality rice products, and we guarantee that there will be high quality nutritious products on the table of Chinese people. And we have very great and world-class leading technologies. This technology honored us with a top-level award from China. Using this technology, we can supply the high-quality rice products. If it is widely applied in the whole industry in China, I think we can better enhance the yielding and to reduce the in-process raw material or resource consumption, and also to reduce related waste production in the agriculture activities, and also to improve the quality of the rice products, paddy rice products. This is our first trial. I think this kind of technology can roll out in the country and to benefit the whole industry. In the meanwhile, we also have another solution to satisfy the high-end cosmetic products, beauty products, and the food and beverage products. So all those products based on the minerals. And we have a 100% organic minerals to be the raw material of these final products. And also we have another replacement technology to utilize the straws. and to use the straws of paddy rice and to use the rice husk for electricity generation. Sorry, I think the speaker has some connection issue or microphone issues. The interpreters cannot hear him by 100%. And anyway, just by using the rice husk in electricity generation, we can reduce the resources for electricity generation, reduce the conventional resources for electricity generation, and meanwhile to improve the economic value. And I believe there is a great market needs for these technologies. So all in all, we put the paddy rice in. We fully utilize every part of the paddy rice to develop the circular economy, to improving the cultivation environments and to reduce the environmental pollution, to reduce the resource waste and resource consumption. And meanwhile, we can utilize all the conventional, all the waste that is regarded as all the like rice husk and straws for other methods, for other pursuits of ecological protection.
Procurement is a very important link along the supply chain. Procurement is also a very important link to drive the ESG, to enable ESG improvement. In terms of procurement, sustainable, responsible procurement, what are the practices to introduce, share with us? Could you be brief, introducing us some of your experiences? Let's take rice as an example. As a processing, the producer is not involved in upstream planting, but we do work together with the service providing companies and to educate the farmers so that their farming and their agriculture practices more science-based, so it can improve productivity and therefore improve their income that they make. And those agricultural service firms, for example, the Sino chemical, they have the affiliated research institute to educate farmers so that to improve their agricultural practice. And everyone can benefit from such kind of collaboration. Give you an example. In the Wuchang rice, this is a certain species of rice that producing in the Heilongjiang province. By education of the science-based agricultural products and planting, and it can improve their harvest by 55,000 tons a year. It improves the trust among the farmers to those research technical assistance and service providing. Thank you. As we move on, the next question, I'd like to ask the question to Mr. Wang Lianshen from the CSA. First of all, I take this opportunity. I'd like to thank China Electronics Standardization Association, CSR Committee for great support over years. And for electronics or the ICT-related industry, ESG is also very important. ICT industry, in terms of the ESG performance in its supply chain management, as a player of this industry, can you give us an overview of the current ESG construction in supply chain management of ICT industry? What kind of supporting services can your association provide? And for supply chain, to go sustainable and you establish ESG is very important. ESG as one tool to enable sustainability has been incorporated into this industry development. There are three features. First is the overseas market listed businesses already introduced the ESG management ahead of others and has disclosed its results. And third, the organizations. And we have achieved key agreements on ESG management, for example, formulation of ESG standards as the CSR Association. We will take into account feature characteristics of the industry and to use well the tool for sustainability. And we'll organize forces from the ICT industry and to have discussion exchange with each other on the action plan and policy making and other regards to provide our support. This is our involvement in the ESG relevant work. This is basically our thoughts and also our offering. Thank you for the introduction. We know that the industrial association play a very important role in encourage ESG as a concept and practice ESG as a code of conduct. About the future improvement of ESG, I want to ask panelists what recommendations that you have. And maybe I will go the other way, ask Mr. Wang, do you have any advices for ESG improvements in future? I have 3 thoughts. Maybe you can use for more of your insightful thoughts. Again, we should take into account, connect the characteristics, features of industry, and to use well the demonstration. And this is my recommendation to suppliers or sourcing industries. And again, when we introduce ESG elements, we should adapt towards the goal over time. And don't try to do all at once. Another idea is that the association like us should look at the current condition of the market and to carry out study of policy and regulation rules and to design a timeline for the evolution, for the development of ESG in a good order, in an orderly manner. Thank you. Now, same question to Ms. Li Ping from Yinhai Carry, and how ESG can play an increasing role in enabling circular economy and advices. Thank you for the question. I think the development of the circular model, one way to do that is to work together with stakeholders. That's the only thing I'd like to mention. That is also the golden solution for sustainability. And golden key is just sustainability is the golden key to solve or overcome common challenges facing the world. And I'm aware that Yihai Carry, you have done very good. You have set up a very good example to the other peers. Same question to Director Wang. If our forum to be organized and held in
当然，我觉得我们的这个主题肯定是围绕着可持续发展这个方向。但我觉得除了可持续发展之外，我们也可以看一下从人方面，我们非常关注大家的健康，而不是说身体的健康，也包括了这个精神健康。我觉得这个都是大家应该要看的一个主题。那另外呢，我觉得科技也是绝对可以帮助我们世界
Another aspect I'd
一
like
个
to
很好
include
的
in
发
the
展。那我们怎么
discussion
样
is
靠科技
science and
和我们的人
technology.
去合
How
作，
technology and
达到
science
也帮我们在这个可持续发展的议题上再进一步。我
can
觉得这
be
些都是可探讨的
advanced
一些
in a
话题。
beneficial way to mankind. Those are the topics with our discussion. And the last question I'd like to ask Kristen. You talked about how we can improve understanding of suppliers on ESG. Do you have anything you would like to add to that, to answer to that question? And any practices you would like to recommend suppliers to develop?
I think we were talking about the improvement of ESG, and for me, I guess there are three key components. The one is a strong commitment from the owners, so from the shareholders for the topic. The second one is really having the governance structure internally. And the third, and maybe even the most important one, is really the cooperation and trust between all different partners in the supply chain. Because I guess that is really the key to make this journey successful. And it needs to be really pre-competitive. Yeah. So it's not about having a competitive advantage or anything. It's really about pre-competitiveness. And if we can achieve that, then I guess we can really have the possibility of having a successful ESG journey. Thank you.
好，谢谢，谢谢。那我们因为时间的关系呢，也非常
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you very much for all the speakers and also the panelists for the insightful presentation and sharing of your views. Time goes very fast. It has been 2 hours already. We're approaching the end of this forum. Organizers and I'd like, as representative of organizers, I'd like to give you a short summary of this 27th Sino-European CSR Roundtable Forum. I believe I speak for every member of the organizers. I'd like to thank all the 8 panelists. Thank you for the inspiring and valuable sharing. And it inspired us in many ways. ESG, this is the theme. So I think it can improve our understanding of ESG, what role it can play in supply chain management. I'd like to conclude the results outcome of this forum. And first is that although that we're not going back when it comes to trend of ESG and the role it is to play, but we do see at 3 levels for ESG to become mainstream. There is a stronger driving force behind it. And if one of the first driving force is policy. As we can see across the world, from Europe to China, we have a policy that been released to drive forward ESG, the Green Deal in the US, in the EU, and also the dual carbon goals that we set in China. This will drive ESG to be more mainstream. This is our very important policy background. And the second level is the standardization, the CSRD and ESG guide standardization work in China. From those ongoing standardization efforts, we can see that it's very important timing for the establishment of the ESG standards. And those standards will play an important role, serving as an important tool to advance ESG work. And the third is leading companies have been focusing on ESG. Companies represented by our speaker and panelists today already shown us ESG is become one of the focal points for companies to lead. And we do see more and more companies, including those from China, making efforts and disclosing more on ESG performance. So from multiple dimensions, policymaking, standardization, and disclosure, ESG has been developed in an unprecedented pace. And the second part of the discussion is on ESG's impact on supply chain management. It is mentioned on forum to 2008 started to pay attention to the CSR, and we do witness the change from CSR to ESG. ESG emphasizes environment aspect of the CSR and also the governance-related topics of the CSR. And as a driving force, it will be stronger. It's not to replace any forces. And the third, as supplier or a business or company, and you are encouraged to pay more attention to new topics or updates on the ESG, and especially what it matters to management of supply chain. Under the current backdrop, for the world to respond to climate change,
also, the global attention on biodiversity protection requires us to be more attentive on forest resource protection and conservation. And also for the water resources package management, the concern of the international community of the global governance, and also about the circular economy. I think all this will have greater impact on the ESG management. Currently speaking, ESG in terms of guideline, methodology tool, and standard making, we have made some progress. CSR, under the framework of CSR, there are also many tools and methods to be ready for us to use to promote the ESG performance of enterprises. For example, the ESCI, BGI, and other altogether 3 major tools are of greater importance to and also are great support to enterprises to manage their ESG performance and manage their supply chain. So I think there are many mature tools ready for us to utilize. In the future, as we have more attention and we have more experience on ESG and supply chain management, we're going to have more powerful sets of tools to support, to enable us in better ESG and better supply chain management. And we need to improve the supply chain management in ESG performance, and that requires the collaboration and cooperation of different stakeholders and parties. Beyond the policies and the regulations, we need to have the effort and commitments of the industry. We see so many associations and from the industry are taking active measures and actions to clear all the obstacles of supply chain management and to address the key concerns on supply chain management and to build capacity in ESG and supply chain management. We want also the enterprises to build supply chain management as one part of their branding or brand building or corporate image building. In the meanwhile, we see so many enterprises has identified ESG management scope, ESG details, and ESG contents and ESG targets, and share all this their vision and strategies of ESG performance with the suppliers. And this is a very I believe this is very effective and positive trend nowadays. To better improve our ESG performance, I think it still needs more close collaboration and tie between the upstream and downstream, and to have all the entities in the value chain, all stakeholders on the value chain to make consensus and to build a deeper understanding of ESG, and to make great and collective action and proposal to implement to practice ESG. This is my summary of the ESG of this forum, and the contribution and insights of all experts and speakers and enterprises representatives. As this seminar this comes to a conclusion, that I would like to announce the 27th Sino European CSR Roundtable Forum has completed successfully, and looking forward to more cooperation with different partners, and thanks to the association, and thanks to our partners, the China National Textile and Apparel Council, China Electronic Standard Association, CSR Committee, and the Hong Kong Productivity Council, and the organizers and supporting organizations, and our experts and business representatives. Thank you very much for your contribution to this roundtable forum. I'm looking forward to meet you again next year, 2023. And we can have more in-depth discussion on supply chain management, on sustainability of the supply chain. Now, I again would like to announce the conclusion of the roundtable forum. And thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much for your attention. And thanks for staying with us to the end of this 27th Sino European CSR Roundtable Forum. And thank you very much, and goodbye.
谢谢大家，非常棒。
谢谢 Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, Christian, particularly. And then see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.